Hello there, welcome to a brand new episode of your favorite local program on KTV2, the family channel, Hala Kuwait. My name is Tariq Al-Arian and we're coming to you from the Ministry of Information Studios right here in downtown Kuwait. And I'm joined tonight by my colleague Muhammad. Good evening, Muhammad.
Good evening to you, Tariq, and good evening to you, the viewers. This evening, you don't want to miss your favorite evening show on KTV2 Hala Kuwait, as we've prepared for you a very special content, including reports, segments, and guests to talk about different topics, all from different fields. We have a lot of content to share with our dear viewers this evening, Tariq. So what do we have first?
Well, right now we're going to get to our first report this evening, right here on Hala Kuwait. Stay tuned.
Human International Documentary Film Festival is Oslo's largest documentary film festival and a significant forum in the Norwegian capital's cultural, academic, and organizational life, which engages and encourages debates about human rights and other social issues of current interest. The festival is a unique meeting place where activists, experts, filmmakers, artists, students, NGOs, think tanks, and a general audience actively participate. The festival's film program consists of more than 40 new Norwegian and international documentaries, categorized in 3 sections: a competition program for new Norwegian documentaries, a competition program for international documentaries with a particular human rights focus, and a curated international program consisting of new documentaries addressing a variety of social and political topics of current interest. These films engage audiences and create a good starting point for debates and discussions. All of the festival screenings are associated with an introduction, a discussion, or a debate. The festival has also a comprehensive live program consisting of debates, Q&As, art exhibitions, theater plays, concerts, performances, and more. Every year, the festival collaborates with between 60 and 70 NGOs, universities, think tanks, newspapers, and others who contribute in the making of talks and debates and with their active participation in panels. Besides the film and live programs, the festival hosts a seminar for documentary filmmakers and NGOs, which addresses important questions about the future of social and political documentary. Attendees are human rights advocates from all over the world who connect with Norwegian human rights organizations and audiences. The festival also facilitates school screenings with the aim of increasing human rights awareness among teenagers. The festival dates are from 28th of February 2022 to the 6th of March 2022. Stay tuned for the next guest.
Welcome back, our dear viewers, and our first guest of the evening. She is Ms. Huda Karimi, translator, artist, and writer. Good evening to you, Ms. Huda. It's really a pleasure to have you tonight with us on Hala Kuwait.
Good evening, sir, and thank you for the invitation.
It's always a pleasure. So when we talk about career and experience and long time experience, it's about 17 years you worked for the Ministry of Justice, and we are really wondering about the legal documents and the content you translated there.
First of all, thank you for the invitation. Regarding my career, actually I worked more than 17 years in the Ministry of Justice, and let's say for about 3.5 years or 4 years at the National Diwan for Human Rights. My legal background was really good because of my career. Since when I studied English literature and I have Master in Translation, that helped me a lot in my translation career at the Ministry of Justice. During our study, the master degree, we didn't focus on legal documents. However, our profession at the Ministry of Justice did help me with my translation and regarding the legal documents.
This will lead us, when it comes to translation and adding to it legal documents, it's really sensitive. Like if you want to translate other content, it might be more easier or flexible when it comes to words and translation, but we're talking about legal documents. So what kind of challenges you faced during the operation, or let's say the procedures of translating legal content?
Well, we can say that every moment in our life is a challenge. Every day is a challenge. Since I'm a writer, I write poems and prose and stories. Writing about literature is really different than dealing with legal documents. Legal documents, as you have said, it's really concise, consistent, and you have to be really accurate regarding your translation. So it's really different than the literal one. You have to use more of dictionaries, you have to use more of CAT tools, you have to search a lot, read a lot, ask also the experts before translation. So it's not just that kind of ambition and you write whatever you want. No, you have to really work on it.
I believe if someone works in the gym but they are not trainers, they will learn a lot about diet, about lifestyle routine, about exercising, and also people who works with other people, for example like doctors in medical fields, but they have this office work, they will learn a lot from it. So this major, the great major you are experienced at, and the great degree you have in translation, I believe it's master's degree.
Yes.
A master's degree in translation. Such a great career, and especially when it leads you to a specific place that you will get also experience in other majors, which is Kuwait's legal system. So when you start working translation there, how it deepened your understanding of Kuwait's legal system?
As you have mentioned, no pain, no gain. So you have to educate yourself before working. So when you read and when you write, when you educate, when you search, before translating, this is kind of educating yourself. So you are deep in your information, you are just getting more information and you are utilizing them in your documents. So that kind of awareness during translation and that increasing your vocabulary and legal terminologies, of course it's going to help me a lot. Sometimes the Arabic text is difficult, although it's my mother tongue. So I have to go back to judges and I have to go to legal researchers just to explain what does that terminology and term means. So it's really educating yourself all the times during translation.
And about the people who take their work as a routine, daily routine, just to go there, spend time there, do specific tasks, and come back home. But in your case, it's different. It's challenging day by day, week by week, and you're doing a great effort during your work and the career in the Ministry of Justice. So when it comes to a moment that you're proud of during your work, what can you tell us?
Actually, I'm proud of every document that I have translated, even if it was a civil ID or let's say just a normal contract, because it helps the other person. Since you are helping others, so you have to be proud of yourself.
Definitely, and we're really wondering also, especially our viewers watching us now, they're wondering about your work in the Ministry of Justice, and you mentioned 17 plus years experience there. So what led you to move from the Ministry of Justice to the National Diwan for Human Rights?
Well, let's say I don't like to shift a lot, but I like to just improve myself. I think 17 or 18 years was enough. I can have that kind of background and use it somewhere else. So as long as I'm an artist, I used to participate in fairs and art competitions and do some kind of charities regarding my paintings. So that kind of, let's say, social events, when we go to disabled persons, when you go to just helping others and just giving the hospitals your paintings or something, I like to use that kind of humanitarian works. So since the National Diwan for Human Rights was just a new entity, so I thought it might help me somehow. I don't know what, but I was helping for something good. Yeah. And when I moved there, I liked it also, actually. It wasn't so strict like the legal documents, although I translated the law of the National Diwan for Human Rights and dealt with other things. But when you deal with news, when you deal with, let's say, awareness campaigns or something like that, it's really different than the legal text. But you can use your legal background when you are translating those kinds of texts.
And how did you feel when you shifted there or you moved there, the first, let's say the first months there? How was your feeling?
Actually, every kind of changes, of course it affects you somehow. But I always try to just adapt. So I kept using my legal background, I kept using my still humanitarian works and mingle all of them together.
And what about the working of the type of working in different fields, like you were working in both fields you mentioned, and how would change your view about justice and rights in our lovely country, Kuwait?
When I was working at the Ministry of Justice, I learned a lot about judgments, about summons, and about let's say petitioner notes and agreements, contracts. But when I shifted to the National Diwan for Human Rights, I dealt more with national agreements and international conventions. I dealt more with people, with their services, with complaints. It was more humanitarian. And then I shifted not as a translator, I worked as an HR employee. So HR employee needs to just make, let's say, more works regarding the employees, more circulations. So I used my legal background and my administrative work.
That will lead us to ask you about human rights and how your legal background helped you in human rights and working in human rights. Tell us more, please.
It helped me with my work, the administrative work, and how to just write and type and review our legal administrative text. Also, it helped me in interviews with other candidates. So I used my English and my Arabic just in interviews with people.
And about also the latest update regarding both fields you worked at, we're really wondering about has working in both fields changed how we view justice and rights in Kuwait, as we mentioned, and we would like to know your point of view currently about it.
Actually, I was just involved in Kuwait atmosphere and Kuwait legal system. But when I moved to the National Diwan for Human Rights, I get more open and involved. We used more of international conventions, and we had some visits to Geneva and to the UN. That's really widened our horizon and look at other systems, in other words.
And I believe the viewers watching us this evening, they see that, mashallah, how much you enjoy and have the enthusiasm and the dedication and the passion when it comes to your work, and how you try to develop yourself and look for new updates and face new challenges when it comes to work environment, and moving to a new level of your life when it comes to your career and working career. So we are wondering about your current role. What is the part you enjoy the most in your current role?
How to help people. This is the most thing I like, how to help people. Whether I was in the Ministry of Justice or at the National Endowment for Human Rights, or even while working at home.
I believe, Ms. Huda, our viewers watching us now, especially our dear students, they're having this great time now, and they're wondering, of course, they wonder about translation and how they study translation, same as you, and how they choose this path in their careers or which university they go to. They have many questions watching us tonight. So what kind of advice you would give future translators in law or human rights?
Let's say, first of all, every action in our life is a matter of translation. We translate our others' facial expressions. We translate, let's say, movements. We translate words. We translate actions, emotions. So it's just translating documents. So what a great role you're gonna do when you just move that kind of message from one language to another. When you help another person just to understand your message from one language to another, how you're gonna translate and how you are gonna transfer that kind of message.
Well, we're really thankful to you, Ms. Huda, for being this evening with us on Hala Kuwait, and we wish you the best of luck in your career and with your future endeavors.
Thanks a lot for your invitation.
Many thanks to you. Best
Thanks
of luck. The viewers, we just had with us Ms. Huda Karimi, translator, artist, and writer. We have a very special report to share with you next, so please stay tuned.
Hydroponics, also called aquaculture, nutriculture, soilless culture, or tank farming. It is the cultivation of plants in nutrient-enriched water, with or without the mechanical support of an inert medium, such as sand, gravel, or perlite. Plants have long been grown with their roots immersed in solutions of water and fertilizer for scientific studies of their nutrition. Early commercial hydroponics adopted this method of culture. Because of the difficulties in supporting the plants in a normal upright growing position and aerating the solution, however, this method was supplanted by gravel culture, in which gravel supports the plants in a water-weight bed or bench. The fertilizer solution is composed of different agricultural or horticultural fertilizer grade chemical compounds containing varying amounts of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the major elements necessary for plant growth, and various trace or minor elements such as sulfur, magnesium, and calcium. The solution can be used indefinitely. Periodic tests indicate the need for additional chemicals or water. The chemical ingredients usually may be mixed dry and stored. As the plants grow, concentration of the solution and frequency of pumping are increased. Some systems, known as aquaponics, use nutrient-rich wastewater from aquaculture to fertilize hydroponic plants. A wide variety of vegetables and florist crops can be grown satisfactorily with hydroponic systems. Common crops include lettuce, spinach, kale, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, radishes, strawberries, and more. Stay tuned for the next guest.
Well, we're back right here in the studio, and we have with us right now Almas Bughammaz, a well-known lawyer right here in the state of Kuwait. Almas, welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me here today.
This evening we're going to be talking about the Montreal Convention. But first off, could you tell our audience what is the Montreal Convention?
Okay, so the Montreal Convention is for the unification of certain rules of international carriage by air.
Okay, so what is the Montreal Convention and what does it standardize?
So the Montreal Convention of 1999, which is the MC99, standardized the liability of international air carriers to ensure compensation for passengers in case of death, injury, or even baggage damage during international flights. So basically it outlines exactly the rights and responsibilities for passengers, shippers, or even airlines in case of damages or any harm that happens during the flights.
So how does the Kuwaiti, let's say, courts apply the Montreal Convention?
Okay, Kuwait as a signatory to MC99 applies its provisions in local courts. So the Kuwaiti courts have become increasingly familiar with MC99, particularly regarding liability limits for delays and baggage claims under Article 22 of that certain law. So which it caps the compensation per passenger in case of delays.
So Almas, please tell us on what basis is an air carrier held liable for flight delays in Kuwait?
Okay, so
that's an interesting question.
Yes, exactly. So the Kuwaiti courts follow a presumed fault principle, which means that the air carriers are automatically liable, considered liable in case they did not prove that they took all reasonable measures.
Okay, so maybe you could tell us now what are the two defenses an air carrier can use to avoid liability for delays under MC99?
Sure. So under Article 19 of MC99, an air carrier can avoid liability if it proves that it took all reasonable measures to avoid delays, or the delay was due to uncontrollable factors, which is force majeure, which is extreme weather or security threats. Therefore, they won't be liable.
So maybe you could tell us now, how do the Kuwaiti courts handle moral compensation in aviation claims, please?
Sure. Even if passengers fail to prove financial damage, courts may award moral compensation under Article 231 of the Civil Code of Kuwait, which covers psychological distress or even, reputational damage.
So tell us now, why is the moral compensation controversial in Kuwait aviation cases? Tell us about that, please.
Yes, sure. Because some courts grant moral compensation without sufficient evidence, and the amounts can exceed the MC99 liability limits. Therefore, higher courts, sometimes they may reduce these awards upon appeal.
So it depends on the appeal?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
So what is the key difference between the CIF, which is cost, insurance, and freight, and FOB, which is free on-board contracts regarding shipment documents?
Okay, so in CIF contracts, the seller must provide key documents to the buyer, which is the bill of lading, for example, before shipment arrival, enabling trade or even financing. On the other hand, the FOB, which is free on board contracts, the buyer arranges transport and directly receives documents from the seller.
So what happens if a seller fails to provide the required documents in a CIF contract?
Definitely, the buyer has the right to terminate the contract, as document delivery is a fundamental obligation under CIF terms.
So can a buyer terminate an FOB contract if the carrier fails to deliver goods properly?
No, because in FOB contracts, the buyer, not the seller, the buyer arranges the shipping, okay? So the seller acts only as the buyer's carrier, right? Like an agent. So the carrier breaches do not justify contract termination by the buyer.
So what is the main takeaway for companies entering CIF FOB contracts under Kuwaiti law, please, Almas?
Okay, so companies must clearly understand when their responsibility starts and ends. In CIF, sellers bear document-related risks, while in FOB, buyers handle shipments, arrangements. Clarity helps avoid disputes and legal challenges.
So maybe now some practical advice for passengers, aviation and buyers shipping under Kuwaiti law, please.
Okay, for passengers, document everything, like keep your boarding passes, take pictures of whatever damages that happened with your luggage or whatever happened with you during that flight. File a claim immediately, like once you land in that country, just file a claim in that in the airport, and then know your rights, like also get advice from a lawyer or someone that understand this law, and escalate strategically.
So what should I do if my flight is delayed or my baggage is damaged in the state of Kuwait? This is a question I'm sure a lot of summer travelers always have.
Yes, definitely. So document everything. Keep your boarding passes, take pictures, keep your evidence, receipts, whatever you have, just keep them with you. And then also file a claim immediately once you land in that airport. And know your rights, like get to, ask someone that is, a legal advisor or someone that has the know-how about it, and escalate strategically. Like do not just,
just leave it. You have to follow up with this on a quick basis to go with the airlines and check things. Any other bit of advice or tips that you may have for the audience watching right now, as it is summertime, people like to travel?
Yes, true. So in Kuwait, paperwork wins the case, okay? So keep every receipt, email, any contract version you have, and even a screenshot can be decisive.
Very good advice, and as usual, it's a pleasure to have you with us right here on the program, and thank you so much for coming.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'd like to thank our distinguished guest, Almas Abu Ghammaz, for joining us. She's a well-known lawyer right here in the state of Kuwait. We thank her for her time with us. Right now, we're going to move on to another one of our great reports this evening. Stay tuned.
The sport of badminton is said to have originated in Greece, China, and India about 200 years ago. From there, it spread to other parts of Europe, Asia, and the world. Today, it's a popular sport worldwide, both at amateur and professional levels. Badminton is played with two single or two teams of 2 players each. It is a racket sport. The rectangular court is divided into 2 halves with a net in the center. Unlike other racket games like squash or tennis, badminton does not use a round-shaped ball. It is played with a feather rubber called the shuttle as the ball. A badminton game starts with a coin toss. Whoever wins the toss gets to decide whether they would serve or receive first, or what side of the court they want to be on. The side losing the toss shall then exercise the remaining choice. At no time during the game should the player touch the net with their rackets or their bodies. Competitive badminton is usually played indoors because even light winds affect the course of the shuttle. Recreational badminton, on the other hand, is a popular outdoor summer activity. In international play, athletes compete in best-of-3 games matches. A game is played to 21 points, provided that the winner has at least a 2-point advantage.
Welcome back, our dear viewers, and thanks for watching us this evening on your favorite show on KTV2 Hala Kuwait. Of course, we had a great interview with Huda Karimi. She's a great translator, and she also, Tariq, mentioned how she dedicated herself for her major and what she studied, and how she developed herself during her career, and how she switched her work from the Ministry of Justice to the human rights sector, and it's really a noble quest she's doing.
It was a very fascinating and informative interview, Muhammad. And as usual, the camera crew have been very busy also right here on our program Hala Kuwait, filming all around the state of Kuwait. We have a lot of great reports to get our audience caught up on tonight's episode. Also, we have some in-house reports that the team of producers have been working on. So right now, Muhammad, we're going to move on and take a look at another one of our great reports this evening right here on Hala Kuwait. Stay tuned.
Many Kuwaitis look at the sea with fondness in their heart, especially with the fact that this beloved country used to survive on bestowals of what the vast ocean had to offer prior to the discovery of black gold, or oil. Back in the days, Kuwaitis used to venture out into the sea to earn a living, sailing on small or large wooden ships made by craftsmen who went by the title galalifs. In the mid-1700s, Kuwaiti crafted ships earned regional and international praise from Arab states. of what is known now as the GCC countries, commissioning ships to be built for them for various purposes. European travelers who visited the region at the time also showed appreciation for Kuwaiti crafted ships, with the most famous praise coming from Lieutenant Colonel Harold Richard Patrick Dixon, a British colonial administrator who in 1912 claimed that Kuwait made the finest wooden ship vessels in the region. That same year, some 812 ships sailed from Kuwait. In 1919, the number of ships increased to 1,200, a number reflecting Kuwait's strong sailing heritage. The process of building ships usually involved a master galaf, who had a number of apprentices called galalifs, diligently working under him. Usually commissioned by merchants and famous skippers, the galalifs made it their mission to construct the ships no matter how laborious the tasks were. The process of constructing a vessel varied with the bigger ships, used in pearl diving, trade, and goods transportation expeditions, obviously taking longer periods to make depending on the number of construction crew and available materials. Small and medium-sized vessels were also made for leisure, fishing, and nearby pearl diving ventures. The popularity of the wooden ship industry continued to grow. However, it dwindled by the 1920s due to a number of geopolitical and economic factors. By the end of World War II and the discovery of oil in 1950, the Kuwaiti wooden ship business continued to fade, with only 50 vessels operating by that time. Nowadays, a few wooden ships still exist to serve as a reminder of Kuwait's old golden heritage and tradition. Since the beginning of Kuwait in the mid-17th century, Kuwaitis were using many kinds of ships, or dhows, for many purposes to live off the sea resources. Al-Boom was one of the famous and most used ships in Kuwait's past. There were many kinds of Al-Boom used by Kuwaitis for various purposes at that time. One of these kinds, called Boom Ghawas, and it was used for pearl diving. Other kinds, called Boom al-Ma, was used for sweet water delivery. Another kind of Al-Boom, known as Boom Tishala, was used for transporting stones used for building. The bigger ones were called Boom Safar, which was a sailor boom for long-distance sailing, and Boom Gatta'a for short-distance sailing. In the year 1765, there were over 800 working ships in Kuwait. These ships were different kinds of Al-Baghla, Al-Boom, Al-Sambuk, Al-Shawi, Al-Jalboot, and Al-Batil. They were used for different kinds of purposes, like fishing, hunting pearls, sailing, and delivering sweet water, and much more. These ships contained hundreds of parts, and each part had its own name and definition. For instance, Bees is the base of the ship, Satur or Anafa is the upper front, Sridan is the cooking quarters, Malij Khad are the long woods or Lihan in the bottom above Bees. Kana is the back piece of the wood that hold Sikkan, which is the end piece of the ship. Bandira is the flag stick above Il-Kana. Al-Boom ship has 5 sails, also called Shra'. The 2 bigger sails are called Al-Ud and Al-Qalami. The other 3 are called Al-Boomiyya, which is a small Shra' on the front, and Shamandi on the back, also called Tofar. Qabiyya is another sail located on top of Al-Ud, and there are other sails for special kinds of weather conditions, like Tirkait and Sifdera. Each of these sails has its own purpose.
And with that, our dear viewers, we have reached the end of tonight's episode. I really hope you liked our content this evening, and it's always my pleasure co-hosting with you, Tariq.
My pleasure also, Muhammad. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's program. Make sure to enjoy the rest of your viewing tonight and all throughout the week right here on KTV2, the family channel. Have a nice evening. Good night for now.
Have a lovely night.